Hello, my name is Eva Wood. I'm the director of Studio Wood. We curated the exhibition Sea Change, Flood Resilient Architecture for the 21st Century. In the exhibition, we explore a number of projects by architects who are leading the way in showing us how, as flooding becomes more common, we've used the term as flooding becomes the new normal, how new approaches to flood resilience will be needed and how we will most likely be needing to go beyond flood barriers and flood walls to find other innovative ways of solving the risk of flooding to our communities. We are interviewing a number of architects whose projects we're showing in the exhibition, and today we have Jenny Mackie from White Arkitekter or White Arkitekter in Oslo here with us. Hello, Jenny.
Hi.
Jenny is a partner at White. She is an architect and urbanist, and she's got a special interest in how to bridge the gap between architecture, urbanism, and nature, and reconnecting, making communities reconnect to natural environments and then also to blue environments. Jenny, we're going to talk about one of the project that we're showing in the exhibition that you developed a proposal for Quebec City. I just thought we'll start with talking about how the proposal came about. The Quebec City launched an international ideas competition a number of years ago called Rethinking Our Rivers. Could you tell us a little bit what they wanted to achieve and what they were asking for?
Yeah, first of all, I think it was a really brave idea from the beginning that City of Quebec introduced. It was an idea about reconnect and return to the jewels of the city, the four rivers. And what they did was to launch this international open call for ideas. And I think it's a really smart way to collect a broader perspective of how we can develop in the future with different perspectives from all over the world. So then the result of the competition was to kind of collect the ideas and try to use it in this overall master plan for the rivers, how citizens can return to the river, so how the city can be turning back to the rivers and appreciate the rivers and the landscape that is central actually in the city of Quebec.
And I've understood that there isn't at the moment access to the rivers. There's a lot of private development and the community doesn't necessarily have access to the water.
Yeah, because I mean the rivers have different use, and I mean we have used waters to transport, and mostly industries is developing and to the waters to kind of have the access, and now we try to reconnect again for the citizens and have a more access for people than machines and boats.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and could you, so your proposal was silver awarded, and it was a national urban park for Quebec. It has a French name that I won't try to pronounce, but translated it's the Park of Four Rivers.
Yeah.
Could you tell us a little bit about your proposal?
Yeah, we tried to collect many different ideas and kind of presented 3 strategies how the city could work more focused to kind of reconnect the citizens to the rivers and also to the landscape. I mean, appreciate the nature connected to the urban environment again. And then we had the overall idea was to kind of introduce this urban national park for the rivers. And I mean, it's a boundary. Try to define the area and highlight the landscape as an element that is really important when we design cities, the landscapes, and reconnect the citizens to their landscapes again. Because of the privatizing and the industries that has been like connected to rivers before, we need to kind of build up a new culture and appreciate the nature again. That's what we did basically.
Okay. And I know you also, in the proposal, you talked about the benefits for engaging the local community and the benefits of having access to nature, like you're saying, and the water. And I'll touch on that actually in just a minute. But first, I thought, if you're forcing development or kind of opening up development closer to the rivers, how are you thinking in terms of flood resilience? Because that's quite unusual to actually want to get closer to the river, considering flood risk. So can you talk about the flood resilience aspect of?
Yeah, I think I think there is many concepts you can use for flood resilience, and one is like fortifying the city or try to build walls around cities, and we try to achieve the opposite actually, to give more room for nature. It's also a way of handling this this crisis we almost have, to give more room for nature and water. Then you also give space to have this change of water levels. So it's a strategy that also works in that perspective. But in the competition, we didn't introduce like a flood strategy. It was more about giving more room for nature. And, yeah, you can say that. Flood strategy actually.
Yeah, and we saw through the exhibition a number of projects that we're showing in the exhibition that can be seen as a strategy for sure, because using nature and as you say, space to allow water to fluctuate, it will protect properties that are further in then. Yeah. And also in the exhibition we talk about the well-being effects of being allowed to be close to water, and there are many older studies that show being close to nature and close to forests and woods are good for you, but there are also recent studies that show that water being close to the sea you can prove that has or water or rivers being close to water has well-being beneficial effects. And I know you also looked at the concept of allemansrätten, which is a Swedish concept. Do you want to explain the concept a bit further?
Yeah, from Scandinavia, we almost think that it's a birthright to be in nature. And we have this law actually that give us the right to be in nature and access to nature, give us the chance to appreciate nature. But it's also a responsibility, allemansrätten. It's not. It's because you somehow you learn how to appreciate nature, but also with respect. And it's a responsibility to be in nature and coexist with all the other species that we have around us. Yeah. But actually, it's a really strange. I think one of the reasons why allemansrätten is something that were introduced from the beginning back in the history is because of the transportation, actually, infrastructure. Because when you were walking between villages, you need to have something to eat. Then you have the access and the right to pick berries and so on. Okay. So really, long time ago, it was more about how we transported ourselves between villages. But now it's more of a it's an idea about giving everybody access to nature, actually, the right to be in nature. Yeah, it's important for us, but I think it's important for everyone. Yeah, that is something that I really like to kind of introduce when you work in an urban context. And it's also a question we ask ourselves in Quebec: how can we do both? Live in an urban context, but still also be close to nature and be reconnected to the big landscape again. In a safe way. Yeah.
I guess, as well. It's interesting, when we were doing the research for the exhibition, I read an interview with a man in a Japanese village where they've been, since the tsunami, they've been building higher and higher seawalls.
Yeah.
And he said, you know, for us, it's like living in a prison. We're completely disconnected from the sea. You know, for centuries they've had that access and that connection to the sea. But now, okay, they are safe, but at what cost?
Yeah.
Yeah, and and that's what I like, and that's what we liked when we wanted to bring in your project into the exhibition, was this idea of bringing the community closer to nature, but also in a safe way, and whilst allowing, you know, mitigating flood risks and mitigating risks, but still not building any barriers for the community.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, I just want to comment, because I think we need to learn how to design with water. I think what we have done the last century is the opposite. We put all the water in pipes, and we see that it's coming back to us. I mean, all the pipe systems under the cities is almost going backwards, and it's doing the opposite when you have this rising sea levels. So it's really a big risk if we don't use other tools to design our cities now. So yeah.
And what do you think, how much do you think homeowners, or on a decentralized level, how much do you think people should, is this the role for urban planners? Of course it is, but could you say that there's some education needed of homeowners and
yeah, I think it's a really big question, because it also turns back to the insurance. And if you're living in this flood zone, it's not you're not secure anymore, because you can lose your home and don't get anything back. So it's a big risk. So we need to actually don't just focus on cities. It's overall problem.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. I also wanted to mention the book called Out of the Blue that you and your team in the Oslo studio, the pre-edition you edited last year in 2019. Could you tell us a little bit about the project?
Yeah, it was an idea that we have been working with several waterfronts and have discussed water in a broader perspective. And then we were really inspired of this Quebec competition, actually, to have a kind of a collection of ideas and stories from a broader perspective. So we invited several people around the world, architects, urbanists, landscape architects, to kind of tell their story. So it's a collection of stories about how you meet different challenges in different contexts. And it's a really complex question about water, because I mean, it's you can say that it's represent life itself, but it's also a really big threat when the climate is changing and you have this flood risk. And I mean, it's both a really risk and big risk, but also opportunity then, like we have discussed now. It's a collection of stories, anthology.
And it will hopefully be published next year, 2021.
Yeah, like always, we are really positive as architects with our timelines. We had a goal to actually have it on the market this year, but yeah, things are taking more time in these days.
Well, we'll look out for it next year for sure.
Yeah.
Just to say also that the exhibition has been closed for a little while, but it is actually reopening now on the 2nd of December because of the second UK lockdown is now over. And it will continue. I just found out it will continue until the end of February. So for those of you who haven't seen the exhibition, there's still time to come and see it at the Rockall London Gallery. And do check on their website for opening hours, just to be sure. Okay, thank you so much, Jenny.
Thank you. Bye.